So decolonizing means like recognizing what was there before, and we can't go back to what was there before, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means sort of saying what knowledge was there that has not been validated by colonization, what traditions were there. One way to think about traditional diets is that all traditional diets are healthy because all traditional diets developed with health as their primary motivator, right? Foods developed because they were designed to make people healthy. In the modern era, food is produced for profit. It doesn't matter if it's healthy.
And the first thing I did the plan was to build an herb spiral in the center of the garden and put all these herbs, and they started to flourish. And it started to be so beautiful. In the center of my herb spiral, I had this lavender. And then in the spring when it bloomed, like all the bees came to the herb spiral. And and all of a sudden, like the susto started to recede, right? It was that feeling of having your hands in the soil that reconnected me to my spirit. So it was really powerful. And then with the herbs, I would bring them in the morning. I'd go out I'd get the eggs from the chickens and get a handful of herbs from the herb spiral and make my egg taco, right? And I'd be like, oh, this is so sustaining. This feels so good to my spirit. And I felt connected both to Mother Earth, but also to my ancestors who I knew had done this. Like I just knew.
We started sort of looking at how were foods traditionally made, how do we make them now, and then how were they traditionally made. So for example, like my father's family is from New Mexico, so I kind of grew up in New Mexico, and they make a red chile colorado sauce there, and they thicken it with white flour, right? But they didn't always thicken it with white flour, right? That's from the conquest. We also were really inspired. We looked a lot at the codices, which are documents that were written during the conquest, and also letters that the Spaniards wrote back to the King of Spain where they would describe the indigenous peoples. But one of the things, for example, among the Aztec people, they said that food without chile was like fasting, right? And that food without salt was like torture.
And then they attempted to change the diet, right, with these things, so that wheat became something that was valued, and corn tortillas became something that was devalued and considered poor, lacking status. And there's even, like, the Spaniards were allegedly stood in their doorways with breadcrumbs on their, like, to show how high they were, that they were eating, wheat bread.
And when we looked at things like the codices or like the letters to the King of Spain, where they would talk about the marketplace in Tlatelolco, and they would say, they were selling tamales there. They didn't call them tamales, they called them pastries or pies or dumplings, I forget which, right? And they said there were some with quail eggs, and there were some with rabbit, and there were some with pumpkin seeds, and there were some with corn, and there were some with chile, they burn within, and there are some that are shaped like seashells, and there are some that are shaped like spirals, and there are some that are shaped like torpedoes, and there's some that are shaped like, and they just named all these different ways that they looked. And we thought, like, there was such a diversity of tamales, and now we have sort of like a paucity of tamales. Like, we think, like, oh, there's only these few ways to make them. And so we really want to re-embrace that diversity of vision that says there's lots of different ways to make this.
And to decolonize, then, is to really see the benefit and the value of the ancestral knowledge that we also hold as a community.